Let me listen to that back. It's Mike and Mo and we just reading, baby. Ain't no interpretations, we just keep it even, baby. Yeah, give us a listen if you feeling lazy, or if you ain't been in the mood for communing lately. Yeah, we gon' keep it 100 as we going through these words. Our creator wouldn't want us to treat him like a curb, brushed off like a street sweeper. Kaden Park in Miami, without him we get heat fever. Goal is precision. We need a ski teacher, connection more reliable than 96 or 3 beepers coming to you live. Call us a heat seeker, Jeepers creepers couldn't be more curious than these peepers. We only reading a book, come take a listen to us. We only reading a book, creator gave it to us. We only reading a book, no we don't come in bitter. If you ever want to see us live, we know where to look. We only reading a book, come take a listen to us. We only reading a book, creator gave it to us. We only reading a book, no we don't come in bitter. If you ever want to see us live, we know where to look.
He was actually the one who suggested the idea to me to read the Quran, because I was obviously raised Muslim, so this is the first time for him, and he wasn't. So this is I have a lot more, I'd say, prior knowledge, because like I used to go to Arabic school, and my dad used to read me the Quran on weekends. So like I definitely have a lot more exposure to it, but then again, it was also when I was younger. I was like 10 years old when he started doing it, and like and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I kind of resented the Quran generally, because I told him about the bias. And obviously, I want to make sure if my dad's watching this, it's not his fault. I spoke with him now, and he's like, I'm sure I'm aware that I might have been putting my own bias onto it, because he's also, as I'm spiritually developing, he's also too, which is really great to see.
That's dope.
It is. It's so sick after seeing my dad progress, and he actually told me that, hey, I might have talked about the Quran in a way that it's not supposed to really be talked about, in the sense that he put his own spin on things. And he told me about the word for it too. It's called something. What's it called?
Eisegesis.
Eisegesis. He applied a lot of that into it, and he told me about it. Like, okay, I'm aware that I did a lot of eisegesis. So this isn't actually out of spite, because I know usually when people talk, there's a lot of people on the internet,
there
right?
Is.
That that's such a cool thumbnail. There's a lot of people on the internet that when they talk about the Quran, they're very, very heavily on one side, where it's like, they either praise the Quran to all hell, or they think that there's nothing good in it, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I want to see me and Michael, right? Should I say Michael? Is that too much?
I mean, I really leave it up to people, but I prefer Mike because it's less, if I'm saying it, just because it's less syllables, because I'm lazy.
That's fair. So me and Mike, we're obviously not people that like to put bias on things, so even if you do think we might be biased, that's definitely not our intention. We're trying to be as neutral as possible, and to see if the interpretations my dad were making make sense, because obviously my mom, she was raised Muslim, and my dad was actually converted, right? Or we say reverted in this one. So we'll say reverted for the camera. He reverted, because he had no idea what it is. How can you revert something you had no idea existed, right? But
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I've heard.
But yeah, we'll say revert for the sake of the camera. He reverted to Islam, right? And he actually went to Hajj like recently, like 2 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he is someone who is really, really, like, I would say also strong for the camera. He is really, really passionate about his faith, whereas me and my mom, we indulge in the faith, and then we live our lives, whereas my dad, he was consumed for it. He's consumed with it.
The faith is his life.
Yeah, it is his life. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm just saying that's where that perspective is coming from, so his emotions are a lot more extreme towards it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I want to, and because I was obviously more exposed to religion younger, I don't think I'm going to be as, how do I say, I don't think it's not going to hit me in a way that's like, whoa, this is so novel, and then I end up either getting attached to it or end up completely resenting it because of the fact that it's so novel, right? It's still familiar to me, but to the point where I'm not going to, my emotions to an art is extreme, so I feel like that opinion would be valuable especially with his Christian point of view.
He already introduced my belief system a little bit. I'm a Christian, grew up a Christian. I mean, never necessarily left the faith, but I did have a lot of questions that just couldn't be answered for some reason. So I had to go on a search for myself, and at some point in time, I denied the deity of Christ, and I believed in a God, but not the God, Jesus. So, in my search, I came across the Quran and Muslims and how they talk about Jesus and his mother, and they say God is one, and
can I pause?
that.
So in the Quran, right? So just so the viewers know, right? If you're not a Muslim yourself and you're actually curious too, there was actually a funny thing. I really hope the guy comments on this video. There was a guy who read the entire Quran in one sitting. Did you not? You saw that? I didn't believe him. When I saw that, I'm like, there is no way this man sat for 24 hours straight and read the entire Quran. We're not doing that.
How many chapters? Yeah, we're not. No, this is serious. No.
Yes, but yeah, so just for the viewer's sake, the Quran I got from the mosque has a table of index, and from what I saw, right, I'm not sure if this is entirely accurate, 500 chapters. So yeah. This is gonna be long if we decide to actually dedicate ourselves to this, but let's hope we have the motivation.
I'm here for it. We got time. We got time.
Of course. But yeah, it is 500 chapters long, and in the Quran, his name is Isa. We call him Isa in the Quran. So Jesus is another way of saying Isa to Muslims, right? When we see here Jesus, yeah. So it's the same person. It's just a different name. But go on.
Makes sense. I heard how they would talk about all these things and say that their belief system was the completion of the original Jewish faith. So of course, as a Christian, with thinking that I have the completion of the Jewish faith, it piqued my interest. And I never had a Muslim friend. Most of my friends, I've never read the Quran. Here we are. Let's do it.
Yeah, he was actually the one who suggested it to me, because usually Muslims, you'd think that like, oh yeah, we're always talking about the Quran and praising it.
I would think so.
Yeah, you would think so, but like because we were actually born in the faith and we were actually raised and molded by it, right? Like I said, it's less novel. Yeah. It's usually reverts that like just discover it for the first time and they think it's so amazing. Not saying it's not, but like because they think it's so amazing that they're talking about it all the time. But because we've been exposed to it so much, we don't feel that excitement because it's so familiar to us. You know what I mean?
Being enthusiastic.
Oh. They are, like you said, the reverts are definitely more enthusiastic when talking about the Quran because it's so new to them. But like, that doesn't necessarily mean we don't love the faith, but it's just we're so exposed to it that we're kind of used to it. You know what I mean? So that we're not like constantly so excited to talk about the Quran because everybody around us knows it. We're birthed around it. Our entire families believe the Quran, so it's not as much of a. So that's what I'm saying. So because actually, what's crazy is that I heard that Andrew Tate recently converted, and Tristan Tate and Sneeko, all those guys now believe in Islam. I know Tristan Tate. I'm so sorry if anybody who actually watches them are watching. Tristan.
I hope you watching.
Tristan Tate still believes in the Bible. He's still Christian, but he hears about Andrew Tate talking about Islam a lot. And Andrew Tate, when he first converted, he thought it was the best thing in the world, right? And same thing with Sneeko, he was very into it.
Let me interrupt you for a second.
Go ahead.
Is it the best thing in the world?
I can't tell you because I'm obviously when you're raised around it. Yeah, I wish I could tell you, hey, it's the best thing in the world, or hey, it's the worst thing in the world. But like I said, we're logical people. I can't make a definitive decision until we actually read it. And plus, like I said, I'm gonna try because I have no ill will towards the Quran or the faith. I understand that the people who are very passionate about it tend to over exaggerate, right? And they don't really think that everybody who hates the Quran is a bad person. It's just that because because when they hear something that's against what they've known their entire lives, it's understandable to lash out at people. You know what I mean? And I have no ill will towards those people. So I just want to make sure like I'm going in completely neutral. Because I actually, lately, I have actually been getting back to it. Obviously, I'm not perfect, but I've been trying to get back to it because I think there's still a lot of good in there, despite what people say there is. You know what I mean? Do you know there's actually a whole subreddit that it's called Critique Islam? I can't wait to read that Reddit after watching this.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more juicy. Yeah, man. Anyways, I told Mike, for the viewers watching, they're not going to translate this specific part, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, because it means the same thing every time, and it's going to be very monotonous to people who actually listen to the website. Because the people on the website are usually people who already read the Quran and already exposed to it, right? But Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is in the name of God, the most beneficent, the most merciful. And what I told Mike is that beneficent is not necessarily the only way to say it. There are people that replace that. Actually, yeah, my uncle says compassionate, right? So it could mean that is interpreted in a lot of different ways. But depending on who raised you, who was teaching you the Quran, they replaced that word beneficent with something else. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad translation. Just for those people who are trying to figure it out by themselves.
Is it possible to look up the individual words for some of them, like as we go on, so we can
you could definitely try that. So you could definitely try that, right? But because Arabic words have multiple meanings, right? That's why the Quran is so heavily translated and heavily. There's a bunch of different sides, Shia, Sunni, all those people, because the Arabic words don't necessarily mean one thing. They could have a lot of different meanings, and there's a lot of layers to that word, right? So we could. For simplicity's sake, we can look up the words, and then the definition that comes up to us, we'll use, but then the people will correct us if it is wrong and if it's not common to use that.
Do you think, like, the sources and dictionaries that it would list the multiple meanings or the multiple translations?
I've actually read an Arabic dictionary. They won't put multiple translations. They'll put one thing.
Yeah. That sucks.
It does. So that's why I'm saying that's why there's so many factions of Islam, right? That's why that divide happened. So yeah. So then, but it used to be one religion, but then it split into factions because of that reason.
Interpretation.
Right. So we're gonna probably interpret it wrong.
Or not interpretation. My bad. Translation.
Or we might translate it wrong because I'm not. My English, Arabic is my second language, right? I'm not too versed into it. He sees me in the field, right?
Man, he believe it.
Yeah, he has no idea what I'm saying. Yeah, he has no idea what I'm saying, and I'm actually happy because I might be able to show Mike a little bit of Arabic.
I'm your boy.
Yeah, man, he'll learn a third language because I think he was trying to learn another language, but
Yeah, I know a little Spanish.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, so because the Quran Arabic is so complex, right? A lot of people interpret it in different ways. So like I said, if we find a translation on the internet, Google Translate, we translate one word at a time. Never translate a whole sentence.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll definitely be accurate. At least accurate to people who actually speak the language, or actually accurate to people who don't speak the language. We'll do the best we can because we're not native speakers.
Exactly.
The Quran, the reason why they say it's the original religion is because it's never been modified whatsoever. Because everybody who modified it died. Whether coincidentally or incoincidentally, I think there's a correlation. But everybody who tried to modify it from the Quran died. So everybody tried to modify it, they died, and then they say if you guys believe in hell, they went to hell. Or nar. We call it nar in Arabic.
No, I'll go
Nar. No, not nara, just nar. N-A-R. Nar. Yeah.
I get it because you rolled an R. It sounded like it was.
Yeah, right. No. But yeah, that's why they say this is the original religion because it's never been tampered with, or at least that's what they told us.
But wait. That's kind of confusing though, because didn't the Quran come to be in Muhammad's time? It was revealed to Muhammad, but then, to my understanding, he couldn't read or write, right?
Muhammad?
Yeah.
It doesn't mention. I don't think it mentions that from what I know. I don't think that was the case. Did they say that in the Bible that he couldn't read or write?
I know in the debates that I be watching, they call him the unlettered prophet. Some of them say that he couldn't read or write, and when he was encountered by the angel Gabriel, as y'all say, he was pressing him and telling him to read, and he was saying, "I can't read." So all those things, that's why
we were never taught that. So I'm sure that's accurate, but we were taught that because he brought us the Quran, or he was the one who, I don't know if he wrote the Quran.
Okay,
not necessarily wrote it, but obviously he was the one who was first told about it from God.
So if it came about in Muhammad's time, then how could it be the original belief system then? Because he comes in the 600s, right? So that means it's a whole lot of time before him, at least 600 years until zero, and then they got BC too. So how could it be the original religion if the Quran didn't come into him?
So did you guys believe that Jesus was also, because how it was documented, right, is that's why it's confusing. I don't know if the Bible does this, but they'll say that Jesus came after Muhammad as a prophet. So Jesus was one of the prophets according to the Quran, right? And he was just another prophet. But Christianity says that he was one of the leading figures. He was Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? So what I think happened in translation was, from what I know from my Muslim faith, it was given to Muhammad, but then because of all the mix-ups, right? What they told me.
Mix-ups beforehand or after it was?
Or after it was given to Muhammad, right? They tried to tamper with the dates. This was from my understanding. They tampered with the dates and when things were happening, because we were never taught that Muhammad could read or write. So this was probably definitely something that was either. I'm not trying to be biased here, right? But it's probably
we're not doing that.
From my understanding, right? Because we're taught that the Quran is the only thing that exists. So when you even mention the Bible or the Torah, they're not going to get mad at you, but they're not going to go in depth about what happens in the Bible or the Torah, because most people have never read those books when you're Muslim, right?
So what came before the Quran?
Nothing. That's what they believe. So
how could you be a Muslim without the Quran?
What do you mean?
So
you could definitely be. So
if I was in a remote island and I never had the Quran, never heard of the Quran, could I still be considered a Muslim?
The Muslims, yeah, because you're revert. People think that the Muslims think that everybody was born Muslim and then they just discover it later on. Which, this is what confuses me, because when they talk about revert, which is why I said convert, they think that even if you never believed Islam existed, you can still revert back to Islam despite you not knowing it existed, which is what's confusing, because I'm sure there's a reason behind that.
It's very confusing because Muslim is a belief system. Like, you have to believe certain things to be called a Muslim.
No. So in order to become a Muslim, you have to say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. That's the only requirement to be a Muslim.
You have to say that.
You have to say that.
But what does that mean?
So God is one and Muhammad is messenger.
So
he doesn't believe.
But you don't have to believe that. You just have to say it.
Yeah. So this is where people. This is why Islamic people are so defensive of the religion, because it's such an easy access religion. There are people that exploit that religion to get the benefits of it, but not necessarily believe in the belief. This is what I was told, right? I'm sure most Muslims aren't like this. I'm sure it's probably a small minority, but it happens.
Just thinking about it, it sounds kind of crazy. I'm sure, like, maybe it's a bit more detailed, and we get into it when we read the Quran, but it seems like Allah is just super forgiving and allows whatever to go on if you just say, what tickles his ear.
So what we're taught, I'm only going to tell you what we're taught, right? What we're taught is that if you sin, you can't just ask for forgiveness, right? You have to show that you're actually, it's still considered a sin. Like, you're not forgiven for the sin. You just do good, not necessarily to counteract it. And then this is confusing too. You can't counteract the sin by doing something good in order to, according to what the sheikhs told us. For some reason, which doesn't make sense to me, if you counteract a bad sin with a good deed, you can't let it keep. That doesn't help cancel out. But they never explain why, right? Or they never at least told me why. And then what were you saying before that? And like, what was the question before that you were asking?
I was saying that it seems like Allah just lets anything go. And that's what you were commenting on, which, to your comment, my question is, so can Muslims go to hell then? Because if all you have to do...
But they think that there are levels of hell and that you never go to hell forever unless you're... So what my dad taught me is that you never go to hell forever. You only go to hell to pay. So I'm sure you heard it before. Muslim in Islam, and I heard XXX talk about it. He said that Islam is a point system. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? What my dad tells me is that they weigh your good sins and bad deeds, and whichever one here, what basically means, it's a metaphor for if the one scale is tipping more, that means there's more on that side.
Yeah, for sure.
And then if one other side is heavier, that means there's more on that side. And from what I know is, it never is completely balanced. There's always one that's more than the other, and depending on how heavy one side is a level of heaven or hell you go to. Because even the prophets themselves, only select few prophets went to the highest level of heaven. Most of them still went to a very nice heaven, right? By the way, not like necessarily bad heaven or like a lower level of heaven, but they've been
heaven,
not bad heaven, right?
Okay, that was
so like
lower level. That's
lower level,
okay.
Yeah. So I don't think necessarily there's no such thing as like because
that make me think about like cartoons when they be like the ghetto side of heaven and they show something crazy like American Dad or Family
Oh
Guy.
my God, I didn't hear about that. I didn't actually see that episode.
They just mad disrespectful. They do everything.
I'm honestly not offended by Muslim jokes.
I mean, I'm not offended by it, but
I actually love them.
There is a level of disrespect. I can call out disrespect, but I'm gonna still laugh at it though.
Yeah. So the thing is, I don't actually mind people like making extreme jokes about Islam or terrorist jokes. I'm not tripping over that because I understand that Islam is a very extreme religion. So it's like,
you gotta have some humor,
I was about to say, because like there'll be the sheikhs at my mosque, they don't like humor when it comes to Islam at all.
I can't be around people like that because I'm gonna make jokes about Christianity, bro.
Right.
I'm gonna make those jokes about Catholicism, like they out there touching on little kids. I mean, it's not funny and it's not cool, but to cope with it, I'm gonna make jokes. And if other people make jokes, I'm not gonna trip.
I was about to say, like, you don't necessarily have to believe the jokes. Like, people, why are we punishing people? Why are we punishing people that weren't involved in our faith, not having the level of understanding that we do?
Exactly.
But yeah, back to the point system, right? They do make it a point system, right? So depending on how many good deeds you do and the level of like how good they are, like let's say you don't get the same amount of good deeds for taking a shower as you would be fasting. Because Islam actually talks about, or at least my auntie talks about it. I don't know if this is true. He talks about being clean is actually part of showing that you're respecting God. because you make wudu, right? That's you washing yourself. You preparing to pray for God. So they actually reward you for being healthy and for being sanific, which is interesting. Yeah. But yeah, depending on the level you do, because when they say if you build a mosque, you get a kingdom in heaven, which is actually one of my goals. Which is actually one of my goals, but the thing is, I don't want to build a mosque and not be completely in my faith.
I feel that wholeheartedly.
Because if I build a mosque just for the reward, it feels disingenuous.
Definitely, that's where I was leading into. The fact that it's a point system is kind of weird. I mean, I want to learn more about it for sure. So like to understand, but it also seems like that's why I paused the first time. I don't want to necessarily make a general statement, but
you're free to do that. Yeah, you're free to do that based on what you see.
Yeah, based on the cleanliness thing, it seems like it's kind of easy to rack up points.
Like they're trying to exploit the system.
Yeah.
So I think there's a limit. I think like as long as if you shower, right, as long as you're clean, you get the points, but you can't like keep showering to get points.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like
It's like low level. They think so. The sins the good deeds, from what I know, have limits. You can't just certain good deeds like giving in the homeless and stuff you can constantly do, but there are some good deeds that cap as soon as that good deed is filled. From what I know.
So is it 1 shower a day, 2 showers a day?
So it's about a shower a day.
Detailed?
That's the thing. I want to see where that is. But
what the point system thing before? Because I know we really need to get into this.
I mean, I got all day, bro.
Me too. Okay, so that's cool. I was saying, in Islam, right? There are people that will participate in Islam despite not only out of fear that they'll go to hell. They're not participating in Islam because they genuinely believe in God and believe in the structures that are placed there. They're just doing it so that they can avoid hell, kind of thing. So that's why some people in Islam, I don't understand, myself included, we fall into the trap of we're being disingenuous in our faith, so we can get the reward, not necessarily because we think it's the right thing to do, which I struggle with that daily. You know what I mean? I really want to get out of that. I
can definitely understand. I mean, just the fact that it can be categorized as a point system kind of gives you that bit of wariness where it's like, I want to be sincere about what I'm doing, but it also, because I know about this, it feels like I'm only doing this for the reward.
It does. Yeah.
I definitely.
So
when my dad would talk about it, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, you should do this to avoid going to hell. You should do this to avoid going to hell, not because you want to help out God. Because you're obviously he probably did that because I was a kid, and that's the easiest way to understand it. I'm sure if I talked to him as an adult, he'd say no, that was slightly inaccurate. But because I was I wouldn't say smart kid, but I was definitely a lot more aware when I was a kid. Well, I would say I was a lot more. I'm not gonna say I wasn't like the other kids because I definitely was, but I was definitely aware at a young age that so I'm doing this just to avoid punishment, not because I actually want to do it. But because other kids, that's how they think. They think, oh, I get to go to heaven, right? I get to have all these things, right?
I get to.
Yeah, you get to, and then it's like, okay, that makes sense for them, but because I didn't think like my brother or sister, I kind of felt like, okay, so are they actually doing this because they want to, or are they doing this so that they can stay out of trouble? Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I struggle with that on a daily basis.
I would like after to share something with you from a biblical perspective, because based on a lot of the things that you've said,
of course,
it really don't sound like it has anything to do with Judaism or Christianity. Like there's no connection at all, and I'm really curious to see where that link is, and then what your response is to what Judaism and Christianity presents.
I'd love to hear that too, because I actually have a Christian friend, and he says that the Quran is very similar to the Torah and the Bible. So I'm excited.
Also, the Torah is in the Bible.
Oh.
Yeah, the Torah. The Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible.
Oh, yeah. Nice. All right, man. Well, do you got anything else to say?
Nah, bro. Let's get into it.
Let's get it, bro.